Okay, guys, I am at the Marquee Youth Stage in St. Charles, Illinois, and my camera placement is different now, and I can't show you, I'm choosing not to show you the actual venue because this parking lot is packed, and there's people all around, including someone in the car next to me. So I'm trying not to seem too weird. I always feel weird as an adult coming to these kid shows without kids, but uh, lots of times those shows are fun because um, they're not taken too seriously. Okay, the person next to me just got out of her vehicle. So here we go, Marquee Youth Stage. Hopefully that showed up. I'm later than usual, so the parking lot is full. Not completely full, but pretty full. Um, but very quickly, before I go in to get my seat, my little history with St. Charles. Never been here before. I don't know if I said that's where I am. St. Charles, Illinois. Never been here, but my freshman roommate in college, who I did not like then and I do not like now, he was from St. Charles. And that's all I know about St. Charles. And so, over the last 14 years since I met him, anytime I see the name St. Charles, like on Facebook Marketplace or something like that, I'm just like, ew, that's where he's from. So hopefully this experience will give me a more positive opinion of St. Charles. I'm very close to Playhouse 38 in Geneva. I had to check my GPS multiple times to make sure it wasn't taking me there instead of St. Charles. Didn't realize how close they were. My GPS says I'm about 2 miles away from that one. So very close to that. So lots of opportunity for young actors in this area. But man, these hour and a half drives, I wouldn't think that an hour and a half would feel much worse than an hour, but I'm starting to feel it. Maybe it's because I've got 3 in a row here, but I'm tired of driving. But hopefully I like this venue because I've already got my ticket to see Anastasia here next Sunday, a week from today. So I guess I'll just have to go in and find my seat and hope for the best. It's Peter Pan, by the way. I don't know if I said that. Here to see Peter Pan. Here I go. Okay, time to talk about. Gotta pause for the thumbnail. Peter Pan. This show has me confused. First of all, the artwork is of Captain Hook's Hook. I mean, you get the star there, and the clock, which isn't really prominent in this version of the story. But there's no actual Peter Pan imagery of the Peter Pan character on the cover. And, like, sure, some versions of the story focus more on Hook or other characters, but this one didn't. This is a pretty straight ahead Peter Pan story. So there's no Peter Pan. But something stuck out to me. At one point, a parent ahead of me, I was in the back row, far back corner. A parent ahead of me, I assume a parent, someone ahead of me, had their phone up and just like full on recording whole scenes. Now, usually in these programs, they will tell you that you're not allowed to take photos or videos or in any other way record the performance legally. Now, do some parents still do it regardless? Sure. But usually they're at least kind of secretive about it. This guy was like, no shame, no secrecy. And so as I looked through the program at the intermission, that was kind of just in my head to find that in the program. And not only did I not find that in the program anywhere, I can't find what company this show is from. What publishing company? I cannot find one anywhere in the program. And adding to all that confusion, the costumes and the general, I mean, obviously, a lot of versions of Peter Pan have the same general storyline, but The basic plot elements are extremely similar to the Disney version, but nowhere in any of the marketing materials does it specify that it's the Disney version. But one of the songs is the song from the Disney movie, You Can Fly. It's the same song from the Disney movie, but none of the other songs are. Now, granted, some of the other songs in that movie are extremely problematic and racist. So I didn't expect those songs to be in there, but none of the other songs from the Disney movie are in there. And there are other changes, like they call the Lost Boys the Lost Kids. Most of them happen to be played by girls, but I think that was just by chance. And the native characters are called the Native Sprites. But they still have, I don't know if all of these are the original names, but like Tiger Lily is still called Tiger Lily. The other ones are called Brave Spirit, Soaring Hawk, Winter Moon, Leaping Water. So like, they don't call them the word that the movie calls them. But they still use these kind of placeholder, stereotypical indigenous names, even though they've now called the group the Native Sprites. So it's just weird. And like, not to spend too much time on it, but I have here my programs from the other shows I've seen. And I just kind of want to see how quickly I can easily find this information on the other programs. Mary Poppins Jr., right at the bottom on the front page, it says it's presented through special arrangement with MTI. And any video and or audio recording is strictly prohibited. Aladdin Jr., we've got the Disney logo right there. We've got MTI information right here. Absolutely no streaming, photography, video, nor audio recording of any part of this production is permitted. Once Upon a Mattress, a high school production. Not seeing anything immediately. So maybe it's absent on this one. I don't want to spend a ton of time searching for it because, again, this is just a curiosity thing. So, okay, I don't see anything there. I don't know what publishing company they used. And they didn't say that stuff was prohibited. 39 Steps, presented by arrangement with Concord Theatricals on behalf of Samuel French. Photography and videography are strictly prohibited. The radio play version of the 39 Steps that I saw didn't have any program, so I don't have anything to show for that. Young Frankenstein, the Peoria Players Theater. Any video and or audio recording of this production is strictly prohibited. Now, here we have the National Endowment of the Arts. I don't know if that's a publishing company or not. It says this project is supported in part by an award from the National Endowment for the Arts. I don't know if that's a publisher because Peter Pan also references, we've got the Illinois Arts Council Agency, the National Endowment for the Arts, and then a couple other local things. But none of those seem to be publishers to me. Here we go, Young Frankenstein. Special arrangement with MTI. I was just looking in the wrong spot. Annie Jr., Junior High Production. Presented through special arrangement with MTI. I'm not seeing anything about filming here. But at that show, they actually sold recordings of the DVDs afterwards to cast members, so they may have bought the license to allow that. 9 to 5. Videotaping and other video and audio recording of this production is strictly prohibited. I'm not seeing a publisher. Have I missed it? There's a lot of pages in this program. I'm just skimming through. Okay, I don't see a publisher on this one. It says based on the 20th Century Fox picture, but it doesn't say who the publisher of this musical is. So okay, there's one that is missing. What might have been? This is the original story written by a local person. So I'm not expecting to see totally standard language in this. Here it says talks about the company that this playwright owns, Barely There Theater, and it mentions they release audio of the rehearsal so you can hear behind the scenes shenanigans. So they don't appear to be saying that you can't record things, but they're, pointing out that you can just find recordings so that you don't have to record yourself. So like I said, that one's a little strange because it's local. Matilda Jr., this is the one that was just a couple miles away from me today, Playhouse 38. Special arrangement with MTI. Like, I know I'm spending a lot of time on this, but I just want to clarify how strange it is that there's nothing like that in this Peter Pan play. I don't see anything about not taking pictures or video. Again, this is a children's production, so maybe they spent the extra money to allow for that, because I know that is an option in some cases. Little Women, special arrangement with MTI. That's a big one. I do not see anything about pictures or videos, but there is a code, QR code, to the complete virtual program. So maybe there was something written there. And, some of these I might be missing it because I'm trying to just get through them quickly. A murder is announced. Special arrangement with Conrad Theatricals on behalf of Samuel French. Videotaping or making of electronic or other audio or visual recordings of this production, and distributing recordings or streams in any medium, including the internet, is strictly prohibited. Little Shop of Horrors. Presented through special arrangement with MTI. I keep showing you guys as if you're going to be able to read it. I know you can't, but the photographing, videotaping, or other video or audio recording of this production is strictly prohibited. Les Miserables. Mm-hmm. There's a lot going on in this program. A lot of biographies. The use of any recording device, either audio or video, and the taking of photographs either with or without flash is strictly prohibited. This production is produced by a member of the Broadway League in collaboration with our professional... I don't know what that means. It's production. I don't know if that's the publisher. There's a lot of credits on this first page. So I assume one of those things is the publisher, and I'm just not familiar with the name. Importance of Being Earnest is brought to you by Watson Law and Trish Ballard. Those are like people that never mind. I don't know what I'm talking about. Oh. Yeah, okay. Those are like people that work at the theater. So I'm not sure where the publisher information is. Recording devices. The use of cameras or sound recorders are strictly prohibited by law. I don't see production information on here, but this is a pretty big program, so I might be missing it in there. And the show I saw last night, presented by Special Arrangement with Concord Theater on behalf of Thames Whitmark LLC. The videotaping or making of electronic or other audio and or visual recordings of this production and distributing recordings or streams in any medium, including the internet, is strictly prohibited. Right, so, I apologize. I know that was a long time. 10 minutes. My goodness. My point is, this is a strange production. I don't know if it's in association with Disney or not. I don't know who the publisher is. And again, it's a youth show, so maybe they paid extra for people to be allowed to take pictures and videos, but it's just kind of weird. Also missing from the program, we've got the cast and crew. There's no program. There's no list of acts or scenes or songs. Nothing on the back. We've got some shout outs here that is an interesting touch that I haven't seen before. So, like, I don't know if it's an incomplete program. Maybe there was supposed to be an insert and mine just didn't have one. But very strange. That was a very long route of me just saying that it's very strange. But that's the kind of stuff that normally you would see prominently featured in a program somewhere. Let's talk about the actual show. So, this is another thing that confused me, because normally something like this, I think this is average the youngest performers that I've seen this year. Because like Annie Jr. was a junior high production, but a lot of these kids seem to be even younger than that. The Aladdin had some really young kids in there, but they also had older kids and young adults. Some of them, other ones have had a couple children as part of the cast, but mostly adults. This one seemed to be mostly younger kids, and a lot younger than middle school. So I would expect that it would be Peter Pan Jr. or Peter Pan Kids. And if you look at some of the upcoming shows, we have Into the Woods Jr. and The Lion King Kids and Alice in Wonderland Jr. But there's nothing about that on here. So it's all very confusing to me. I apologize that it took so long just to really drive that point home, but it's odd to me. But the show itself was fine. As I said, these are very young performers, so obviously they're not going to be great actors, but You don't go to a kids show to see great actors. You go to see kids do cute things, and the kids did cute things. Um, this show had a really heavy use of a projection background that really none of the other shows have been to, except for Les Mis, have really used a lot of. Like Matilda used a projector to get like the writing to show up on the chalkboard, but it didn't use it for like scene changes and stuff. This had a lot of different scene changes, and they acknowledged that in the program. It says projection designs by Small Wonder Studio Animated Projections. Maybe that's the publisher, Small Wonder Studio. But like they don't say that. But that was the most unique thing about this, aside from all of the confusion of it. The bittersweet note for me was that it was literally an hour and 1 minute long from the starting announcements to the end of the curtain call. It started at 3:06, ended at 4:07. And they had, I forget how long it was, but nearly a 20-minute intermission in the middle. So we're talking about 40 minutes of actual stage time. Now, did anybody force me to go to this? No. But I drove over an hour and a half. So my drive time one way was twice the length of the show, which means my total driving time was quadruple the length of the show. It would have been nice if the show were longer. And again, if it were called Junior or Kids, I would expect it to be a shorter show. But Matilda was a kids show, and that wasn't super short. Annie wasn't super short, so I wasn't expecting that this was going to be super short. In this particular case, I wasn't overly upset about it being short because holy cow, did I need to use the restroom. And I was trapped in my corner. I would have had to cross people to get out. And there is no foot room in these seats. There is no room to get out to walk in front of people. Even to get into my seat, people had to get out of the row so that I could get in. So I had heard that it was going to be short. Some of the kids nearby told me that they heard it was an hour. So I'm like, normally I might complain about that, but like I ain't even going to be mad about it because I need the show to be done. And I didn't get up at the intermission because there were a lot of people there and a lot of kids. So I was just like, I don't want to deal with that with all the kids running around. So I waited till the end, until most people had left, or at least passed by the bathroom area. But that's pretty unique to this situation. But now I know it's a long drive. And I did intend to get there earlier. I actually had to stop on the way. I mentioned in my previous video that I had been chugging a ton of water because I had been dehydrated and my eyes were really dry. So I had to stop on the way to use the restroom, which I almost never. Most of these places, even if they're an hour to an hour and a half away, no one cares about this. This isn't what you clicked on this video to watch. But most of these places, I'll drive the hour and a half up and I'll sit for the 2 to 3 hour show and drive the hour and a half back without using the bathroom. Right? I have what we call teacher's bladder. I can hold it for a long time. And I don't particularly like using restrooms in public. So that's normally how I roll. So the fact that I had to stop on the way up and go again, I had drank a lot of water this morning and last night. So that definitely caught up to me. But now for the future, I know that I want to get there extra early because normally I try to get to places half an hour early. So I got to this place about 15 minutes early and it was packed. The parking lot was almost completely full. Kids and families walking all over the place. So I really need to make sure I get to this place super early in the future because I don't like to be rushed. Venue's fine. The lack of legroom is bad. I keep starting threads and then losing them. I think I started to say earlier, if this had been my only experience at this theater, I may have decided not to go back, thinking that if because this is a youth stage, so like if all of their shows are this short and it's pretty far away and the legroom is bad, like maybe I just wouldn't go back. But before I went today, I've already got my ticket to see Anastasia next Sunday. So I'll be curious to see how that compares in terms of the length of the show. And my ticket for that show is on an edge, not trapped in the corner. So I should have a little bit more leg room. I will say I did have plenty of elbow room because even though I was on the end, there was quite a big gap between me and the wall, so that was nice. And the lady sitting next to me, I mean, I get it. No one wants to sit next to me, but she was so far hunched over on her other side with her kid. I thought we had an empty chair between us because there was so much space. I think these chairs are pretty wide, but there's not a lot of foot room. So being on an edge, I think I'll appreciate more for the extra elbow room, and particularly the foot room because that's what I struggled with today. But curious to see if the show is longer. Curious to see how if the age of kids is different, and like again, I'm not trying to harp on it, but like this is probably the weaker quality of acting that I've seen so far this year. But again, it's the youngest group of kids. Um, I will say shout out to the guy playing Smee. I thought he was the best, the most natural. Uh, but this is another just kind of weird thing. I don't know how this theater goes about organizing its casts for its different shows because it's not a school and it's not well, I don't know. It's not a school, but this Peter Pan show, I saw on their website that it is exclusively homeschool kids. Which I see that I'm like, oh, that's cool. They're like making sure that these kids get an experience also. But like, this theater's not a school, so why are the homeschool kids not just integrated into the other shows? I don't know if maybe this theater program has some kind of relationship with the actual school day and curriculum of after school programs or something for these schools. I don't know what the school system in St. Charles is like, how many schools there are, or anything like that. But like that's one of those things that at first it sounds cool, like oh wow they're making sure to include homeschool kids, which is cool. But why are they on their own thing? So part of me wonders if I go to see a more standard show from this theater, if the kids are still going to be that young, if they're going to be older, if the show is going to be the same length, or if it's going to be long. Like how different is this show because of the homeschool situation, or is that just a happenstance and the shows are all going to be pretty similar? So I'll be curious to see that. Um, and so part of me is kind of glad that I've already locked myself into another performance there. That's going to be, if there's going to be any difference, this should be a good way to see the difference. The building also has a black box theater separate from the main auditorium. So I don't know what that's used for, if they do shows in there, or if that's just for like practicing or rehearsing, or if they do like, again, they might do after school programs or classes or something. I don't know. But you had to walk through that to get to the bathroom. So I took a look at that when I was in there. But I think that's about all I have to say about this show. I just like I said, it's a lot of things about it just confused me, and like not that that makes it bad or anything like that, but that's the thing that stuck out to me most. So yeah, I guess that's it. Sorry, I spent so much time ranting about things that are not important. and talking about going to the bathroom. But that's going to do it for me. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.